All right, welcome back in here to Live and Now from Fox. I am Andy Mack. It looks like court has wrapped up for the day during some of these pre-trial hearings, these evidentiary motions in the case involving Luigi Mangione. And this all coming on the one-year anniversary of that fatal shooting of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. A live look there as potentially part of the defense or the prosecution leaves for the day. Let's be joined right now on the ground, just a block or so away from that. Fox 5's New York's intrepid reporter Lisa Evers. Lisa, thank you so much for joining us here on Live Now from Fox. And this is obviously very important for the case. What's in and what's out? What did we learn today?
Well, what did we learn is we heard more testimony. This was actually day 3 of this critically important pre-trial hearing. We heard from more Pennsylvania police officers about their interactions with Luigi Mangione before his arrest and after his arrest in the McDonald's in Altoona, Pennsylvania. Now, it's all happening in a 13th floor, or was happening in a 13th floor courtroom you see in the building right behind me, Manhattan Criminal Court. And Andy, we've been talking with lawyers all week long, a lot of lawyers who really try many cases in this courthouse, and they're saying that this is unusual for it to go this long already, but we may not even have hit the halfway mark because they're expecting more than 24 witnesses, and they're only up to about number 8, or roughly around number 8 so far. They've all been Pennsylvania police going, basically minute by minute of what happened from the moment the 911 call was made by the person who suspected that was Mangione, the man who was wanted in this shooting, in this deadly shooting, and all the way to the arrest. Now, you're asking about the key question. The key question here is that backpack. That is critical to the case for both the prosecution and the defense. If it's allowed in as evidence, you were talking about the evidentiary hearing. If it's allowed in as evidence and the judge rules it stays in, then that would be a big plus for the prosecution. If the judge says, no, it is not allowed in because, number one, there was no search warrant for it, and it violates Luigi Mangione's constitutional rights, that is a huge blow for the prosecution, because inside that backpack, Andy, as we know, you referred to it earlier, as we know, was that 9mm 3D printed handgun, was the notebook that contained what prosecutors called his manifesto, even plans for the assassination of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson in 1 year ago today. It's incredible that it was 1 year ago. You can just imagine what his family's going through right now. Our condolences and prayers out to them. But in terms of here, so this judge is known by the attorneys that work with him and have cases in front, before him. You can see our weather here is pretty bad tonight here in New York. They're saying that this judge is a no-nonsense judge, Andy, and he's kind of like goes right by the book. So he's not one of these judges that has, a more political leanings or, leans one way, in favor of this side or that side. He just is really, he's really down the middle, right by the book, and the lawyers are saying he's the judge you want on a case like this, because whatever happens is going to be challenged, whatever happens. And Andy, check this out too. Well, let me get this. Hopefully they'll pass. The traffic's bad. The ambulances can't even get through. Okay. So one of the attorney, Luigi Mangione's main attorney, is Karen Friedman. She is at her last, Karen Friedman Agnifilo. She is Mark Agnifilo's wife. And if that name sounds familiar, Mark Agnifilo was the lead attorney for Diddy during the whole Diddy trial that we talked about so much, Andy. And, today Luigi Mangione was paying more attention. He was taking notes. He was very invested in it. He had a day off yesterday, and he's staying at that notorious MDC, the Metropolitan Detention Center. So sometimes he has to wait hours in order to get the right prison escort back there, because that's a federal facility and this is in the whole state court system. But it's too early to tell which way the evidence is, or which way the testimony is weighing, because they've had certain things said by these police officers that are contradictory at times, them proving that they know who he was, but also not acting very quickly about the backpack. And then the other big issue, Andy, too, you're talking about what's allowed in, what's not allowed in. The Agnifilos, his defense team, saying that he was never read it was 17 minutes before he was read his Miranda rights, and that as we know, is a big mistake. Everyone said that's a huge mistake. So we'll see what the judge decides. But even without that backpack, though, the educated guess here among law enforcement, among the attorneys we've been speaking to, is that they still have a good case to prove because they'll have other evidence. Remember, they have the ballistics, but the backpack really ties the whole thing together in terms of the motive, the means, and what happened with him. But there was more testimony about the timeline today too, but a little bit confusing because it was in bits and pieces and chunks here, chunks there. They've sealed the video of the body cameras from the police officers until the trial actually gets on. But we're going to be watching this closely, and I'm sure everyone will be too, because it's a terrible tragedy what happened to Mr. Thompson, and it's just the whole idea of this agenda, is very important too. And remember, Andy, this is the judge that threw out the terrorism charges. The Manhattan DA wanted to hit Luigi Mangione with murder 1, which requires special circumstances like terrorism, like killing a police officer, some other type of very depraved activity in connection with the murder. And the judge threw out the terrorism charges. He said that's not what those terrorism laws were meant for cases like this. And so Mangione's facing murder 2 and other charges, which still, if he's found guilty of them, he could be looking at life behind bars here. But that's what's been going on here at Manhattan Criminal Court. Andy, back to you.
Yeah, busy day. And I'll ask you one question so you can get back and stay warm, Lisa.
Sure.
Because you mentioned the Miranda rights, and during part of that interaction with police at the McDonald's in Altoona, Pennsylvania, he did say he wanted to remain silent. Police continued to press him. You mentioned the 17-minute window before those Miranda rights. From the legal experts you spoke to, I know you are very familiar with Ignipolos. You speak with them. You spoke with different legal experts down there. Do the Miranda rights, do they keep lawyers up at night? Is that something of nightmares for lawyers when police don't read Miranda rights? Is that something you can share?
Well, for defense attorneys, if they don't read the Miranda rights, that's a gift to the defense, to the criminal defense, because they go in there and they go right away for a motion to dismiss. Your Honor, my client was never read his rights or her rights. They were never read their rights. The police acted inappropriately. These charges should be dropped, and sometimes they do get dropped because of that. I mean, people that watch a lot of police TV shows, it's always that you have the right to remain silent, blah 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 blah, as they're putting the cuffs on you. So that is a critical constitutional right, and it's something obviously people take very seriously. And we'll see what the judge thinks about that, if there's any reason why that wasn't done. Because the other problem that they have from the testimony this week from all these police officers in Pennsylvania, Andy, is that they knew who he was. So it wasn't a question of they don't know who he was, but this is a small town, and you know how it is. I mean, human nature. If you know this is a high-profile thing, you go out of your way to make sure all your I's are dotted, your T's are crossed, and that everything is strictly by the book. So that clearly doesn't appear to have been done in Altoona, Pennsylvania, and now they'll have to figure out in New York what to do about that and how to handle it. But that's really going to be up to the judge. So they're thinking the judge is going to take as much time as he needs. He's going to give both sides all the time they want to question, and not be on like a tight grinding time frame or time schedule, so that if this case does end up going to an appeal, which whatever happens is probably likely, that they will have done everything according to the book, at least on the judicial side. So we'll see. I mean, we're watching. I mean, the backpack is critical. The other thing too, Andy, you and I have talked about this before, is some of these questions about, there's still that question. They still have to prove that person pulling that gun in that video, that surveillance video we saw, is actually him. They have to prove that. There's still a big question that I haven't been able to find the answer to, and that is that who was he talking to? How did he get the tip off that the CEO was walking out at that particular moment? It was super early in the morning. It was dark, and it wasn't like he was walking out at 10 o'clock in the morning, or he was walking to one of the scheduled events that was on the public calendar that the hotels, when there's conferences, how they sometimes put the calendar and the schedule in the lobby of the hotel. tell. That one does definitely. And, that's a big question. There's other questions too, but then some of the lawyers I've been talking to say, Lisa, but you have to understand they have all of his movements, and the timeline. When we get a firm grip on the timeline, that's going to be really interesting too, Andy, to see how he planned this out, what he thought he was going to get away with. So there's just a lot more to come, and I think there's going to be some twists and turns in this before we get to the final verdict. Andy?
Yeah, if these pretrial hearings are any kind of foreshadowing, we're in for the long haul for this case. And like you mentioned, there are a lot of questions left unanswered that this judge will have to rule on, and obviously that just starts a whole new process. Lisa, thank you so much. I appreciate your time. Your
Absolutely.
You're on Live Now. Thanks again.
All right. Thank you so much, Andy. Take care. Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. Great conversation as always. As we're just in the first week, but they've